Many of you here, but there's a few other faces that I have never seen before, but it's good to be here, and it's good to see this club growing. That's the real important thing. Is I can remember probably 4 or 5 years ago when I was here doing a presentation, we had like 8 people here, and so
more
it
than 5 years ago.
right, okay. But anyways, Fred approached me and asked if I would do a talk basically on portable operation, camping and QRP, and I enjoy all of that. And I was just camping in Maine. I got home Sunday night. I was up there for 8 days, and everything here that's out on the table here was set up there up in Maine.
Ed, whereabouts were you?
Moosehead Lake.
Oh, I know it all.
Greenville.
100-mile wilderness and Appalachian Trail out here.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, it was Moosehead maybe 2 years ago.
Oh, okay. But anyways, I've enjoyed QRP. I also have an 817, but now that I have a KX3, I don't use the 817 all that much. Just to jump around a little bit for some of those that know Elecraft, they did come out with a 2-meter module for this radio, and it is available. It's kind of an expensive price for only 4 watts. It's a $200 module to add to the radio. But that's the good thing with Elecraft, is because it's very universal. If they come up with something, you can add it in there. You can put it in, because this radio here that I have, to save money, I bought the kit version and was very impressed with the kit version. There was really not any soldering required whatsoever. It was mainly just assembling the radio. You had circuit board, you had the display, things like that. And so I saved $200 by taking like 4 hours of my time to put it together. So that's a kit version. And but I'm going to first talk about the antennas. So again, for years playing around with portable, I've always wanted to try to find a decent antenna that's lightweight. I've tried numerous verticals and never really had much success. Even with a big counterpoise, or throwing radials out on the ground. Again, never really had much success. So John was really great tonight to bring in the commercial version of the Buddipole. And as many of you know, I was in the ham radio business for 10 years and used to literally go to like every ham fest. And a lot of times W3FF Buddipole was right next to us. So I got to spend a lot of time with Bud, the owner of Buddipole. And then I started meeting a lot of hams that I was actually working and talking to on the air that were using a Buddipole. So make a long story short, I've been watching QRZ to buy a Buddipole, and a lot of times you can score it for about $100, sometimes $150 less than it is new. But then all of a sudden, one of my QRP clubs, they talked about a homemade Buddipole, and I downloaded the plans and built it, and boy does this thing work great. It really isn't much. It's speaker wire. You put a couple connectors. I'm going to be running a video in a little bit where you can kind of see it put to use. And then you put your telescoping whips on the end, and that's what you use to actually tune the antenna. Okay, and then there's coils. So I've made a bunch of coils for the different bands. So unfortunately, if you are portable, you do need to lower the antenna to change the coils. But it's really not that big of a deal. It does not take that much time at all to put the coils in. So as an example, if I wanted to do 20 meters, I just take my 20 meter coil here, plug that in, and of course I would plug in all the wire, but there I go. I'm ready to go on 20 meters, So it's pretty easy, pretty simple. And I was having great success with this setup this year on 6 meters. I caught a nice little opening, and I was camping up in Vermont, and I caught a nice little opening on 6 meters for about 2 hours. And for 6 meters, the specs have it out something like it's one section out. It's something like this is where 6 meters is set. And then you can even do 2 meters with this, and basically 2 meters the whips really aren't even out at all. It's pretty much just standard. But that's your 6 meters. So again, I didn't really need much. 10 meters is the whips are all the way out with no coils. And then if we want to do 15 and 17, then we have the smaller coil. I'll pass these around. Basically, it's just speaker wire, and the plans tell you how many turns to put on to make the coils. And again, very, very simple. I like to put shrink wrap around mine because it looks neat, and then you don't have to worry about if it should come loose. So I put shrink wrap around, and I'm going to pass these around so you can take a look at it. And then when you go to Home Depot to get your PVC, this is basically a painter's pole, and that fits right in there perfectly. Now, when I show the video, you're going to see where you actually can get a cross piece, so this way you've got some other options for mounting. So if I had a cross piece, I could just make a vertical, and then the neat thing is you're going to see in the video that you can make a nice 6 meter beam. So that's something I'm going to start building right away, is the 6 meter beam. But I have to say, 6 meters this summer was really, really bad. I really didn't find that many openings, not like other years. So anyways, a lot of you guys are familiar with the telescoping poles that John N10LO sells, ham source. Of course, you know, a lot of other places have it, like
Those
MFJ.
fiberglass poles.
Yep. And it starts out somewhat thick on the bottom, and then it just tapers up, and that's basically how it stays together, by friction and because of the taper. But with those poles, he sells a 31 foot, and I drop this in there, but I have to take 2 sections out because it's too flexible.
Sure.
And then also this painter's pole won't fit in there. But I just drop that in there, and I'm able to get my homemade Buddipole about 25 feet up in the air, and it works out really, really, really well. And the other thing is that you recommend for the plans is basically you're going to coil your coax, okay? So you're going to maybe put 4 turns of coax down there, and that really works out really well. And there's my little coil right there. And then, as you see, having little cable ties that are Velcro, everything's completely adjustable.
Then about how much would you say it cost in the parts to build?
What you're looking at here, I built for less than 25 bucks. Where this is what, like 250 for?
200 for the equivalent to that.
Yep.
This is the deluxe, which is 400.
Welcome to the Frugal Ham Hall of Fame.
Right.
That's what he's got there. If you bought it new from Buddipole, would be $199.99.
Yeah.
Nice.
Now, you're gonna see with that little sheet that I gave you that there's a couple other links. A guy in New Jersey kind of took Bud's design and did probably a little bit better. So it's gonna be a little bit more like John's Buddipole. But basically this one will go to 40 meters. And it actually uses the same whip as what John's got that you put on there. It's a much heavier duty whip. But a guy from New Jersey kind of did a slight variation of it. And you know, it would basically look just like this, you know, if I had it. But again, you would have the coil on both ends. This coil would be over there as well, because it is a dipole. You know, and this one I've started. I actually haven't finished it yet. I know George, AB1QK, comes to your club meeting sometimes. He actually built these, and the whole idea is that you make taps on here for the different bands. So it's a lot like John's design, where you got a little tap here, and then you move it to the different portions of the band. John's got his little color codes on there so he knows where to go. And that's the only little trick to making this is, it's going to take you a little bit time to figure out what the resonant frequencies are, where you're going to solder a little tap onto the wire. But then when you do that, then all you're going to do is have a little alligator clip, and it will clip to the little piece of wire. And then that's how you're able to change the coil. So,
Basically, you'd have one coil for everything instead of...
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And I think you said this already, just so everyone understands, Bud, whatever his call is, the
Yep, W3FF.
designer of this thing, he
Yep.
posted the plans
Yep.
that Ned used. So it's not like he's, you know, sort of cheating Bud out of money. Bud posted the plans for anybody who wants to make their own.
And when you're operating, are you working with just HF bands? What bands are you
Well,
operating?
as I said, I did 6 meters, so we consider that VHF. But primarily HF.
And you're doing, what, 4 watts?
Well, my radio here will go to 10 watts.
Okay, so you're still basically in the QRP range.
Yeah.
And are you doing CW or are you doing...
No,
voice
I'm
or both?
unfortunately not a CW guy, even though my call letters are perfect for CW. But I do everything on phone. So even for QRP, I'm doing mostly phone. And you're going to see the same thing in the video, because he's a lot younger than I am.
Ned, using the wire you use, can you go up to 100 watts with what you...
Oh yes, I've fed 100 watts through this, no problem at all. Because I have a 7000, so sometimes when I'm desperate, if I need the 100 watts, I got the 7000 that I can pull out, and I've used the 7000 on this and it didn't melt it.
This thing is easily 100 watts. I think it's rated for 1,000, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know,
I
you
run
know.
100 watts with it all the time.
with 16 gauge wire, you know.
Yeah, that's a little iffy.
Because actually, this other guy from New Jersey suggested changing and going to a different gauge wire, you know. But anyways, this is basically how when I go out portable, this is all I basically do. I've got a little Pelican case. There are actually quite a bit of accessories now for the KX3. There's a couple of aftermarket companies that are making some nice little products that I really need to put down the money and get. One company has this nice little plastic cover that goes over this, so this way you don't have to worry about damaging your knobs and, you know, messing up the wonderfully weighted VFO. And then there's another company that actually has a little heat sink that you can put on the side of the radio. I've never had my radio go warm ever for like 3 hours worth of use. So I don't get the heat sink, but you know, some guys are purists.
New England.
Yeah, right. So
Not Arizona. That's it.
I have not purchased any of that stuff yet, and of course, as you know, I've actually got a picture that I could maybe try to send over my computer. 3 weeks ago, I went to a ham fest in Massachusetts, and it was right near Mount Greylock. So it was a beautiful Sunday. It's like, definitely got to go to the mountain. So we drove up there, and sure enough, it was just absolutely gorgeous. If you've never been there, Greylock is right off of Route 7, and just north of Pittsfield, Massachusetts. You know, from down in this area, you could make it there in like 2 hours. But it's 3,400 feet, so it's a high mountain, and you can drive all the way to the top. Connecticut residents, they charge us $4, but no big deal. You know, if you have a Massachusetts plate, they would only charge you $2. But anyways, it's well worth the $4 to go. And a little bit like you said, the nice thing is the AT runs right through it, so you meet all these great hikers that have been out on the trail. When I was there 3 weeks ago, I met 2 guys that started out in Maine, and they were already in 10 weeks that they made it, you know, coming down from Maine, and so they were already 10 weeks on the trail. But again, you know, they want to go down to Georgia as their final destination. But while I was up there, some of you might have heard of this thing. It's called Summits on the Air, SOTA as we call it. And basically what it is it's kind of a group dedicated to QRP. Necessarily, you don't need to run QRP, but one of the guys was up there doing 100 watts. But basically the whole idea is that you let everybody know through the internet that you're going to be on top of these mountains, and certain mountains they give like points to, like Mount Greylock happens to be worth 10 points. So a lot of times people on the weekends are out there just trying to work the soda stations, because it's just a lot of fun, and you get recognized and things like that. But again, for us guys that are QRPers that like to hike and go up the mountains, we also enjoy it. Because the nice thing that we really enjoy is if we can work somebody else on top of another mountain peak. So that's the really cool thing about soda. And but let me run this video, because I think it's going to answer a lot of questions for you, because it also has the same exact radio I have. Yes, Ernie?
Do you get many contacts when you're up there for the grid, the people who start searching for grid squares?
Well, remember,
Because you're in.
I mean, I know I told you I do 6 meters, and guys would be looking for my grid square, but you know, when I'm usually doing mountain topping, I'm only doing HF.
Okay.
You know, sometimes I'll listen on like 5.2 simplex just to see if I can hear anybody, and I'll definitely work them if they're there. But primarily when I'm doing a mountain top, it's always HF. But let me just play this little video. It's not too long. Hopefully I didn't lose it.
Hi, I'm WW1X, and today I'm going to show you an overview of my Buddipole
There it goes.
that I've been working on for the past couple months. I started with the stock directions from W3FF, Bud himself, and made a couple customizations along the way. This is just a general overview. My website will have all the details and measurements and more detailed photos. Here are some of the components of the Buddipole system. For the standard Buddipole, we've got a 6-foot mast with a cross adapter for the antenna.
That's a painter's extension pole that he's using for a mast.
Option as well, which I'll show in a minute. We have the 2 extender arms that help move the coils away from the feed point. We have 2 sets of interchangeable coils, one set for 20 meters and one set for 15 to 17 meters. No coils are required for 10, 12, or 6. These are the adjustable antenna whips with featherweight whip antennas. You'll notice that we've used interchangeable power pole connectors for everything. They're very easy to connect and disconnect, change quickly. And the featherweight whips are adjustable to the band which you're operating at. These are the standard Buddipole parts. I've also added a couple of extras, including a homemade balun, which is not necessary, but it does help get a good tune-up. The guy wire and stakes. These stakes are from Home Depot, and it's just a simple carabiner, a stake, and some nylon rope in between that's very lightweight. This is about 8 feet of rope. Over here, we have the 6-meter beam modification, which includes 2 boom elements, or 4 featherweight whips, and another adapter that allows us to use
cross
the
or the T that I was talking about.
to attach the boom
You'll see
elements.
in a little bit.
Finally, for doing the vertical, we have a counterpoise wire with the different markings for the different bands. And of course, we need some coax. We've got about 20 feet of RG58 coax from Radio Shack. It's lightweight, seems to be a good length for portable operations. The mast for the Buddipole is a 6-foot painter's pole from Home Depot that extends 12 feet. The guying system consists of a hose clamp with 3 zip ties positioned through the hose clamp, and the carabiners for the guy wires simply attached through just like that. It's a nice snug fit, and the guy wires are installed, and just like that, the Buddipole is self-supported and ready for deployment. Setting up the Buddipole is pretty simple. First, we attach the extension arms Then we select the coils for our band of interest, in this case 20 meters. Everything is press fit. There's no glue or anything holding things together. Makes it easy to reconfigure if you need to. And I connect using these power pole connectors. And then finally, we attach the adjustable whips. An important thing to notice here, per recommendation of Bud W3FF, who came up with these designs, is that these are made of lightweight CPVC, which is a little more flexible, but also
I did not
lightweight
use
than
that
PVC.
particular
This is half-inch
PVC. I actually just chose the
and,
cheap stuff at Home
these
Depot.
cross adapters
Mine's a little
that you
bit
see are
heavier,
actually
no
made
big
from
deal.
standard PVC. A really good trick for adapting CPVC to PVC is to use a CPVC coupler that has been inserted into a larger diameter PVC pipe. You have to be careful to find the right coupler adapters because some of them are too big and they won't fit inside the inner diameter of the PVC. You can simply insert the coupler with some PVC glue and that's a nice steady fit that's not going anywhere. Now we can connect the balun to the feed point using
I use the wraps of coax, which is like a common mode choke, kind of the same thing. RF doesn't come
again, a
down to
balun is not
coax.
completely necessary for the Buddipole. You can, by changing the lengths of the whips, you can actually tune it up using just a unbalanced feed. And now our final step for setting up the Buddipole is to adjust the length of the featherweight whips, again for our band of interest. And by doing some experimentation, you can